Good morning, Kaffeeklatsch. Hello. Came on a little early just to make sure that the screen, the darkness thing here was working well, was in the right place. Make sure I can see all the comments. Don't make me hurt you, StreamYard. This is behaving up until. I can't see any comment. There we go. StreamYard, do this. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to MoB Kaffeeklatsch, episode 149. Wow, we're almost at 150. I can't believe it. It's amazing. So far, StreamYard is behaving. Let's see if it remains that way while we have this darkness thing here. With my Vanna White darkness thing here. And, let's see if it behaves, if it doesn't lag or hang or do anything else. How are you all doing today? Can you guys hear me? Make sure everything is good. I'm getting a good mic indicator. Mic is right here above me. You guys can see me well. Everything's good. Fantastic. How are you all doing? Let me just let's see. We got 7 people here. We'll wait for a few more people to roll in. Excuse me. It is. Let me just say hi to everyone first. Let's see who we have. Hello, Heather. Hello, Chris Mendoza. Hope PT went well today. Connie, hello. Let's see, Jennifer. I saw Jennifer Jones up above. Let me see if I can type the name of anybody who's Jennifer. Yeah. Heather's here. Chris is here. Got a few people. Nice, nice. Everybody's here. Fantastic. Excellent. Oh yeah. So right now our temp here, because yesterday we were doing, wow, it's like surface of the sun. I'm gonna tell you where we're at now. And then the skies opened up and it was pouring. We're at today 67 degrees. It was cool this morning. I went out. So see, I woke up at around 4 and trained, swung the bells, and thanks, Chris, for the feedback. Tell him I said meow back. So I got up at 4. I got trained. I went out about 6. I went for a nice walk. It's cool. There's a breeze. Oh, it still looks like it's gonna rain. I think we have a flood warning somewhere. I'll take this over the 100 triple digits. We had 100 something degrees a few days ago. It was insane. It was like walking through stew. It was so bad. Nice. So you're getting good reception from the garden. It's fantastic. That is awesome. If I seem a little bit out of it, it's because I am, how would I put it? I'm not hungover. I'm like book dazed because of dead eye. I'm just been in dead eye. Like it's dead eye in the morning, dead eye in the afternoon, dead eye in the evening. It's all nonstop dead eye all day, all night, dead eye. And so I've been really like my head has been in dead eye, and so this is a good break for me to just kind of get away from the book a little bit, even if it's for an hour, just to kind of breathe a little bit away from uh, the happenings and the goings on of Deadeye and the craziness. I can't even tell you what's going on in that book because it is. How would I even describe Deadeye? Deadeye is just like wow. It's just incredible. It is incredible. I mean, this is one book. If I have to describe it, thanks. I appreciate kind of black. I kind of need it. I always enjoy making sure you guys get the books, like always. It doesn't matter what book I'm writing. I always enjoy making sure you guys get the books because writing for you guys, right? But first of all, this book was a long. I mean, I knew what it was going to be. I'm looking at the list of stories. I knew what it was going to be long ago. We're talking way back, like maybe 15, 20 books ago. I already kind of had an idea. Page, hola, Page. Characters kicking ass, Page. I would send you a snippet, but I can't because one, you're badass, but two, it would spoil things. So no. But just so you know, wow. So I knew about Deadeye a while ago, and so I kind of had a feeling, an idea of what it was going to be. But the twist that it's taken, yeah, I can't even allude to it. But it's just no. I'm really happy to get this book to you guys because it's just been such a ride to run. And I'm gonna tell you, just so you know, I'm attempting to open the art on the. Let's see, it's about the 8th is the next Friday. Hopefully by next Friday, the art will be open. If not, it'll have to be the following Mondays, 8, 9, 10, the 11th. The 11th is Monday. Yeah, the 11th. The art should be open at the latest. Probably the 10th because it's Sunday and it's easier to get out there. But wow, this is a book that really went feral. It just, yeah. I was like, what the heck? What I was getting to is that I'm currently at 51K right now. And I'm just hitting the point where, so the big bets have been involved all along, but I'm just kind of hitting the point where it's coming to a head, almost like the middle, maybe a little bit past the middle of the book. I'm at 51K. I've never done a 100K book, but this one's gonna push the envelope. This one's really gonna push the envelope because what needs to happen, what's happening, the people who are appearing, and how this book leads into the next book. I can't even get into it. It's just like what? Yeah. People who've been on So the patrons have been getting the chapters, right? Hello, Audrey. So the patrons have been getting chapters, and I've been getting like DMs from the patrons like, no, huh? What? Oh my God! Ah, I can't believe it. Ah. So yeah, it's been like that. It's been something else. Be fun. It's gonna be fun. And I can tell you that ex Shadow Company Simon is very different from the Simon that you know and love now. He's a little different. It's like Dark Simon, like darker Simon. Yeah, maybe Gray Simon. I don't want to say Gray Simon because then it sounds like the Night Warden. But he's not. He's a little different. It's gonna be fun. Also, this segues into the secret story that I'm writing for Patreon. But I cannot. I'm definitely gonna say anything about that. But it segues into that. That's all I can say. So you guys are gonna have so much fun. It's gonna be so much fun. But I can say no. I won't say. Continue. So how are you guys doing? I can't say anything else because I'm trying not to spoil it for you. I'm trying not to. I want to spoil it for you, but I'm trying not to. Definitely, yeah, Shadow Simon. I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but I'm gonna refrain from divulging more than I need to. Let's talk about the process. You guys want to, I can't talk about the book itself, like the contents of the book. Yeah, more Shadow Simon than Dark Simon. He's not really dark. Definitely shadowy. But I can talk about the process of writing this book. This book especially because it went feral fairly early on. So no spoilers at all. I'm not giving anything. Please, if you're in the Patreon and you get the chapters because you do in Patreon, no spoilers, please. And those of you that are going to be in the art, please, no spoilers. Yeah. But let's talk about the process of writing the story, and the process of dealing with a story that goes feral. And I call it feral, but really it's the process of kind of letting a story go where it wants to go, and kind of like I don't want to say hanging on for dear life and all of that. That's what it feels like sometimes because I outline, but I have a loose outline, but with the caveat that the story can kind of go into tangents. For a lot of authors, that's a little weird and scary, and it feels uncertain because it feels like there's no foundation there. But there is the framework, right? But it also allows the story to go feral. It allows for the story to kind of grow organically. Like there are things that are happening in the story that are that I had the whole outline planned, but there are things that came up as a result of what was happening previously that had I kept to a rigid outline would not have happened. They'd start where? Jennifer, I don't know what you mean by late start. Okay, let's continue. I have 11:35 here, so we started right on time. I think StreamYard does that. It changes the time. No matter how many times I try to put it at 12:30, 11:30, it makes it 12 for some reason. So you guys, if you have any questions about the process of writing, I can't go into the actual contents of the story, but I can definitely go into how the story is written and what does it mean to go. Welcome, Laura. Glad your internet is working well today, and I hope it got resolved the whole situation. It's good to see you. I can definitely go into how these stories get done, and does it really a 30-second delay? Wow, that's a huge delay. I know it's so StreamYard sometimes when I try to set up the actual episode, it does a 30-minute delay. Like I'll put it for 11:30 and it shows up 12 o'clock. So don't know what the delay is about. StreamYard could be funky sometimes. I'm just very happy that today it's actually behaving and flowing smoothly, and I have a lot of windows closed, so it's not pulling on the memory of the computer at all. But yeah, sometimes it's laggy. But today, at least I'm not getting any lag. You guys are not getting lag. So yes. Oh, we have a couple. Okay, let me just go really quick through the chat outs. All right. Shout out to all of you on YouTube. I see a lot of red triangles, red play buttons. So thank you all for being on YouTube. You're still seeing the splash screen. Wow, that's a serious lag, Jennifer. We're in the show. That's strange. That's weird. I don't know why. That's something that must be a StreamYard thing. Try to if you refresh, does it catch up? That's the only thing I can suggest you to refresh or maybe reboot it. YouTube. That's strange. I never had that happen. Not that much. Okay, shout out to everyone on YouTube. I'll get to the questions right now, Heather. Yeah, if you have lag, just refresh your page, and it should catch you up to where we are. It might be a result of that chat in the corner that might be doing it because it does have to kind of catch up. So maybe that's what's causing it. I don't know. If it gets really bad, I'll stop. I'll disable the chat. Although I like the chat being there. It's because everyone gets to see what everyone is saying without having to open up something else. It's really good. I like that. You get to see Facebook people get to see what YouTube people are saying and vice versa. So that's really nice. It's a nice feature to have. It must be pulling on a lot of resources. So hello everyone on YouTube. Don't forget to like and share if you're on YouTube, and it helps our algorithm so it grows the channel. Yeah, if you guys have a problem, just reboot, refresh or reboot, and support us at Bit and Peaches. New words today. At Bit and Peaches Publishing. Support us there. Don't forget to like and share. Yeah, it looks really nice. I mean, it's really smooth here. It's one of the smoothest times I've ever had it. And I don't want to say that too often because then it's gonna jinx it. We're on Instagram. I've been putting up stuff on my personal Instagram, like with the weights and the kettlebells and stuff like that. I haven't really done anything on the Big Peaches Instagram, but I have a bunch of stuff lined up. Right now I'm in Deadeye, and Deadeye has taken all the bandwidth of my brain. So once that's done, I'll be able to kind of catch up and add stuff. And there's a whole bunch of stuff from Deadeye that I want to put up on Instagram. It's going to kind of create more, I guess, buzz, word of mouth kind of stuff. So that'll be happening once Deadeye drops. But we're on Instagram at Bit and Peaches. So if you're not following us there, please do. On Zazzle, we're on M&S, EMANDES. Our store's there. Get your swag. This is swag. I'm working on this hat to kind of mold it and break it in a bit more. This one's a little stiff, so that's what I'm currently working on. But go get your swag. Why don't you have swag? If you have swag, awesome. Get more. If you don't have swag, go get some. I just want to give a blanket shout out to and thank you to all the patrons on Patreon. I don't have the new names with me right now, but I know we have a few new people, and some people dropped off, and some people joined, and some people upgraded. I just want to thank all of you patrons who are joining us and supporting us on Patreon. I truly, really appreciate you going above and beyond and supporting me and the writing and everything. So you guys are awesome, and I hope you're getting so much amazing stuff from the patrons, from the Patreon. Yeah, that's all right. No problem. Don't worry about it, Chris. We'll get it done. We adapt, and we roll with it. Let's see. We support our indie authors. That's my indie authors. So, if you have an author that you found or that you're following and you really enjoy their work, indie or not, doesn't matter because we're all readers first. Please let us know. Put the link up somewhere where we can find it, and we'll go support that author because from the beginning, from the inception of this channel, it was kind of shaped around supporting our authors and supporting all the authors that we know, all the authors that we found, all the authors that we enjoy. So if you enjoy an author and you don't think we know about them, then please feel free to post it in the mob. You can post it here too, and we'll go get the books and see if it's something that we enjoy as well. It's interesting how most of us in the mob have very similar tastes in our reading, and so post that author in the mob and L3 it. Yeah, we have the L3 format. So you put L3 first, hashtag L3, and then the author's name and the title of the book, and we'll find it. And the L3 is Larry's literary list that we're trying to break his Kindle. So just keep adding to that, to the L3. You don't know who Larry is? Larry, he's in the mob. He's like a celebrity. Um, so put the author and the title in the mob, and we'll find them and we'll support them because that's what we do. We support indie authors. Okay, Heather asked the question: who usually talks first when I start? So if you're reading M&S, right? All the stories are usually from Simon's point of view because Simon is the first person. Okay, let me backtrack just a bit. When I started writing, I was testing out points of view, right? Larry Tushman, LDT. So I was trying out different points of view, and originally I was writing in third person, but it felt really clunky for me. I don't know why. It's just the way my brain was wired. And I wrote Sepia. I actually did almost a whole book, the first book of Sepia, in third person. And when I sent it to my editor, Laurely back then, um, he was like, it's good, but it needs you gotta tighten this up. And so I said, what if I try it in first person? He said, well, you could try it, but let's see how it sounds. Do a few chapters and see how it sounds. And when I redid Sepia in first person, it flowed. The whole story flowed. It was like, I was inside Sepia's head, and I was able to do the entire story. Like it just flowed out. So I said, okay, let's try. First person seems to work. Let's roll with that. And so I had a hard time in the beginning just finding the point of view. This is even before finding my voice. This is just finding the point of view to write in. So in terms of who speaks first, it's always Simon who speaks first, usually. Now, there are times when other characters may step in, like Dex may start saying something, but it's always going to be from Simon's point of view. So he usually comes in right after whoever said, something initially. He'll come in pretty much right in the beginning. It's not. I think it's just a matter to answer Chris's question about Chris's comment about I don't know how to do first person. It's just a matter of how your writing flows. I think it's up to how your brain is, and some people love doing first person, some people can't do first person, and then vice versa with third person. What's always recommended is don't do second person. That doesn't work. I don't know, Jennifer. That's a good question. If you can handle the bandwidth, go for it. I mean, YouTube and FB. I don't think it makes too much of it. You need to ask our resident technomancer. I think the views help on YouTube, but I'm don't quote me on that. I think you need to. Chris can answer that better if it's better on YouTube or Facebook. I know for sure on YouTube you get more views. It helps with that. So yeah. But in terms of POV, for me, if you notice, I mean, if you read the stories, all of them are in first person because that's what's easiest for me. So I can write it. I can write all my stories in first person, which I usually do. I just make sure that I pick a really interesting character. You know. Yeah. So Chris is doing it. Jennifer, feel free, go for it. Do YouTube and Facebook. Chris is a technomancer though, so I don't know if you have the setup the same way. But yeah, you can do it both on your laptop and iPad. More power to you. Go for it, sure. And so once I found that I could write smoother in first person, I started shifting to first person for everything. Now, I will tell you that of all the stories that I write, Mountain Strong is the smoothest for me, is the one that has the less or the least amount of friction for my writing. Like I can write Mountain Strong without having to um, dive too much into the creative well because it's just flowing. It's an interesting kind of situation. It's like when I'm writing Monty and Strong, the story has momentum. It's almost that one is almost writing itself. It's just I'm just kind of jumping on and writing. Other stories I kind of have to guide it a little more. With Monty and Strong, I have to rein it in because if left to its devices, Monty and Strong stories would always be all over the place. They would go into like 10 different tangents if I didn't control, if I didn't kind of like corral it a bit, wrangle it. into some kind of shape or form. It would just go like this. Whereas other stories, I kind of have to nudge to go in different directions, and they kind of just follow the track that I have for them. M&S does not follow the track that I follow M&S's track. Which characters do I most identify as? Gray from Night Warden. And I've answered this question before, but definitely Gray. Which is why you don't see as many Gray stories, because he's the hardest character for me to write, because he's the one that's closest to who I am. And it's hard to write yourself, for me at least. So you'll see Gray cameoed all over the place. Like he's cameoed here, he's cameoed there, he's cameoed in this story. He'll pop up in a whole bunch of stories, but his actual stories take a little more out of me to write, if I guess that's the right way to say it. And so it's a little harder for me to write Gray. That's not to say that not every character is part of me, because every character is, but the one that's closest to the core of who I am is Gray, and so he's the one that takes the most out of my writing. But he's also the one that's closest to me in terms of how I identify as an author, which is also, I thought about this recently. It's the only, you see me looking, so I'm looking at the books. It's the only series that's not done by Derain's Doctor Design. Night Warden. The Night Warden series is the only one. That's every other book, every other cover is done by DDD, which, they're amazing, so I have no regrets. But the Night Warden series is done by Gene Malika Studios, because I wanted Gray to be kind of distinct and special. Yeah, I'm in there for sure. I'm in there. Oh yeah, I'm definitely in. Again, Warriors of the Way. Yeah, Bangers and Mash are my homage to Monty and Simon Hudson, Anthony, because okay, I was always under the impression that I wasn't funny. I still think I'm not very funny, but it was almost like a challenge. Write a funny version of Monty and Strong. And so the funny kind of like Monty Pythonist version of Monty and Strong would be Bangers and Mash, because it's Bangers and Mash. So, and it was a kind of a challenge. The same way I'm challenging myself to write romanticity, writing Bangers and Mash is a challenge in terms of how to write Monty and Strong, but without taking myself so seriously and making it funny and fun. So that's basically what Bangers and Mash is. It's a funny version of Monty and Strong. Welcome, Linda. Hello. Yes, Simon can definitely be seen as a young Gray, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Oh my God, yeah, that's awesome, Jennifer. My sister does that. She says, I have all your books in Kindle, and I'm getting all your books in print. Like, not all the books are in print. So you're gonna make sure they're all in print by the time I'm done. So okay. I listen to her, she'll beat me up if I don't get the book for her. Thank you so much, Jennifer. That I truly appreciate that. Especially getting them direct, yeah. So that's the situation with the writing, and I hope that answers your question, Heather. I know that could be for writers, that could be for authors, that could be I won't say an issue, but it can be a concern as who speaks first in terms of the story, and it could set the whole setting for the story. So it's nice, Laura. Thank you for popping in anyway, Laura. Thank you for being here. And you're a house full of company. You definitely have a lot to do. But your internet is working, and that's key, and that's important. And you're here, and you're dropping in, you're visiting. So really do appreciate you being here. That's nice. Thank you for coming by. In terms of who speaks first, that could set the theme for the entire story. If you go back to the Pulp Fiction days of the hard-boiled detectives, like the Philip Marlowe's, or back then in those days, that gritty detective voice was kind of important for the Pulp Fictions. And it translates well to movies. You'll see that many movies are very selective about who has the first voice, because it does set the tone for the whole story. Oh, hardback editions. Wow. I'm working on it. We do have a hardback, but it's really, really hard to get. It's expensive. I'm working on getting one so that it's not so expensive. And but we might be releasing a collector's edition. So I'll definitely keep you posted, Jennifer, for sure. It does exist. We have one, and I'll show it to you guys because it's sitting right here. This is like a mock-up version. This is a hardback edition of Two Nerds and Butterflies, and it has a wonderful inlay paper. It's beautiful paper, it's amazing inside. The actual book, yeah, and then it has a nice little bookmark. There's only like one or two. These are like truly collector's editions. There aren't many of these. So these were just done to see if we could actually do them, and then we're going to work on that and see if we could just get them. We might release them as collector's editions and just have them on the website, and they can just have them there for people to get. Like Chris is saying, thank you for the question, Jennifer. Definitely, we're going to get the at least Two Nerds and Butterflies and hardback for sure as collector's edition for those who. Some people love having hardbacks, and I personally, the person who did this hardback, just see, like if you look at the back, it has the endless knot, and the detail is amazing. It's like, whoa, this is like a lot of work to make it look this nice. It reminds me of like old library books, books from like libraries in the distant past. So yes, as Chris is saying, you can change a POV in each story until you find the one that sits well with you. You can even change the POV in your own story. I won't say change it mid-story because that's just going to confuse people. But change POV and start again with a different POV and see if that flows easier. You want to find the POV that flows the best for your writing. I won't say writing should be easy, but it should flow. And when you find the right POV, the writing starts to flow. It just comes out. When it's clunky or it's difficult to get the story out, you just might either one, you may not know the characters well enough, and I know I've discussed this in the past, but you need to get to know your characters better. And that's usually done by putting your characters in mundane situations, send them to the store, have them do laundry, mundane things that your character have them do mundane things so you can get to know them. Or your POV might be the wrong POV for you to use for that story. You can also, as Chris is saying, test different POVs in each chapter. It's not easy, but it's, again, if you're just trying to find the POV, usually one will click for you, and then you run with it. That's not the same as voice. Voice is a whole different thing. Voice, you can't, that just comes to you from writing. You just have to write. To find your voice, that takes writing. When I was looking for my voice, I thought, okay, I can just do this. That. The only way voice comes out, this is my opinion, so it's not law, it's not written anywhere. But the only way voice comes out is you have to read a lot, and I mean a lot, because you're developing yourself as a reader and then as an author, right? So to read, and then read some more, and then write and write and write and write, and you write a lot. And then at some point, your voice starts to form, you start saying things a certain way, you start expressing yourself a specific way in your stories, and that starts shaping into your voice. So something you can clay, and just like kind of shaping it until you have an actual form. That's basically how an author's voice is. And the discovery process takes time, but it's taking time through the actual act of writing. So that's why. Let's see, Jennifer says, 20 years ago, I had about 10,000 books. They sound like me, Jennifer. Got laid off and ended up taking a 42% pay cut. I didn't have room for my books in the place. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's the hardest thing to do, is to give books away, especially when you love books. So I know what that's like. I had to give away a whole library at one point because I was moving to a much smaller place. Now I have a huge, huge library. It's so big that now I had to go digital because I don't have no room. It's just all. If I had my digital books in print form, I'd need 2 libraries here. So, let's see. Heather says, I currently use first person for the narrator and scenes in the present, third omniscient for scenes in the. If it works for you, then go for it. I mean, I personally wouldn't do more than one POV unless you're going character by character. Sometimes it's good to shift characters, and you shift POVs with each character. But you got to find what works for you. That's something that's very individual and very unique to the author. Jennifer says, I donated them to the soldiers and sailors home. Oh, that's great. Yeah, you know, they definitely got to appreciate it. Let's see what Anthony is saying. Introducing the Dolly Collection, the complete collection of all the books in the M&S universe in leather-bound hardback, produced on acid-free paper by Eastern Press. Yeah, it's not going to be cheap. Richly hand-painted reproductions of the covers and select scenes throughout each edition, only $5,000. I think that would still be too low for those books. What were you recommending? Hand-painted? Yeah, okay, sure. Chris says, I had to buy a Kindle because I could not hold a book long enough to read it. Yeah, that's the other thing. As you get older and your eyes start to go a little bit, bye, Laura. Have a great, wonderful weekend. Enjoy your company. As your eyes start to go a little and maybe your wrist can't hold the book, Kindles are a lifesaver because you can always change the font size on a Kindle. They're backlit, so you can read them even in low light. And you can just prop them up and read them. And it's, you don't have to worry. And the turning of the pages is usually tapping one side. That's it. So it's easier on your wrists, on your fingers, on your eyes, on your back. It just makes reading a lot easier. So the Kindle was truly a revolutionary device to literature, to writing, also to authors, because so many authors were able to get their start because of the democratic version of what the Kindle was able to bring. There were no more gatekeepers. You just had to. The gatekeepers were now awesome covers, editing, awesome story. It was different from what it was in traditional publishing. So, and you can own a bunch of books on a Kindle and really, really cheap because I have Kindle Unlimited. You get a library's worth of books on a Kindle. And like Chris is saying, for a lot of people as a reader, I know readers who read a book a day and their minds are always racing and they need to be reading something. It doesn't matter, they just constantly need to be involved in a story of some kind. The Kindle is a lifesaver for people. It's so important. Since I got a Kindle, if it's so slow, I read on my iPad. It also allows me to have my Barnes and Noble. Oh yeah, that's true. On your iPad, you can have, I think it's like Nook stuff. So you can definitely have your other libraries on the same device, which is nice. That is nice. I use my phone because I have my phone with me everywhere, and it's big enough, big enough to read. And I have a Kindle. I have Kindle online there, so I can read all my books there, which is nice. But we had iPads where the kids read that. Yeah, that's a whole different subject, Anthony. We'll see what happens with that because that's evolving even as we speak now. And with AI coming in, that's also evolving. So to keep an eye on it and just stay kind of informed and nimble. So, and the book, yeah, I have BookFunnel. I use BookFunnel because I have BookFunnel to give books to people. Excuse me. I like BookFunnel, and it's really powerful as an author. BookFunnel is amazing. So, and it's also good for audiobooks. BookFunnel, it has a lot of functionalities that you can use together. So BookFunnel is great for that kind of stuff, and they're constantly improving it. I met the designer, the creator of BookFunnel at a 20 books to 50K a few years back, and they're growing. And so a lot of authors are using BookFunnel now to distribute books, to distribute audiobooks, to kind of link them up together. BookFunnel is a really powerful program, which is really great to have. But it's really good for authors. It's like amazing because you can give out books through BookFunnel, and you don't have to worry about going through anything else. You just write through BookFunnel, which makes life really, really easy. And you're an author, and if you're spread out in a few places, you want programs that make your life easier, which is really, really important. Let's see. Linda's like me. I love Kindle. I used to have to carry 2 books with me in case I finish the first, and I carry the entire library. Yeah, I never left home without a book, and now I don't leave home without my library, which is so amazing. Yeah, they're just now, Chris. I'm trying to staying up to date with them. They're just now opening to readers more, because they were always more for like the authors from the author end and the functionality for authors, and now they're kind of spreading it out just a bit more and opening for readers, which is great because it just means it's kind of like a one-stop shop kind of thing, and it's making it easier for readers to use book funnel. And if they can really open up that functionality even more, it would be great because it would make the program even stronger and get a larger readership, which would be fantastic, especially for authors. It'd be great. The more choice you can give a reader, the better. Because right now everybody's kind of forced to use Amazon and the Kindle. But if they could have like the Nook and Book Funnel and something else, it would be great. It would be fantastic. And the more places you can have your IPs, your books, the better. Because not everyone can use the Kindle. Although it's an 800-pound gorilla because the Kindle is just so pervasive everywhere. But there are people who are like, I don't use Amazon. So you got to find something else for them. You got to, okay, how about Barnes & Noble? They have the Nook. Or how about Kobo, which is Apple, if I'm not mistaken. And now Book Funnel. And so Book Funnel gives it to you in many different formats, which is excellent. Strong competition is a good thing. It's good for other programs, and it's good for all the authors, because that means no one company is controlling everything. You don't want that, because then the authors get, stepped on. You don't want that either. So yes, strong competition is an excellent, excellent thing. All right, let's see. What updates do I have? Okay. Pain Eaters, if you haven't reviewed Pain Eaters, please do. But I know everyone's pretty much reviewed it by now. Frozen Fire, these are updates. Frozen Fire, nothing's happening until Deadeye is done. So Deadeye should be done in about a week or so, and I can jump into Frozen Fire. Don't forget to leave your reviews everywhere. If you haven't picked up at the Lotus Floats, I know poetry may not be your thing, but please pick it up and gift it to someone. That'd be awesome. I gotta get some books to my sister who's like giving me this thing out here. All my books. Deadeye is in the process of being done, almost completed. I can't get into any more detail than that. Divine Hell, the end of the summer, so probably by the end of next month, maybe September. Divine Hell is the next Gray Nightwater book. The Senior Citizen, which is going to be the Patreon story, has changed considerably to another story that I can't really tell you too much about because it's a secret and it ties into Deadeye. But I will tell you this, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be so much fun. Yeah, sometimes you have to do that, Chris. Sometimes you have to, because they gatekeep it. It's proprietary, obviously, and they don't let anyone else. Can we talk Pain Eaters? Yeah, we can talk Pain Eaters. Talk Pain Eaters all you want, because at this point, if you haven't read Pain Eaters, really, you should have read Pain Eaters by now. Because Pain Eaters came out a month ago already, so we can definitely talk Pain Eaters for sure. Shoot. What do you want to know? Ronan doing what? Taro doing what? I think that's going to be such a great duo, Ronan and Taro. I'm definitely going to write more of that, because I like the way it developed and I like the way it ended, and I think they should make more cameo appearances and other things. Like definitely with Gray, they should appear. They can appear with Monty and Strong because of the transporter angle that Taro brings, and just the fact that it illuminates a little bit more of the transporters themselves. I have more planned for them because it resolved, but it didn't finish. So the story's kind of resolved. Grace has allowed Ronan to live, which is always a good thing. The thing I like about Ronan is that he's not invincible. Ronan is a very human-like character where he gets beat up, he gets pummeled on. Occasionally he gets outsmarted. He knows that sometimes the things that he faces are way above his weight, so he has to punch above his weight many times. And even when dealing with Taro and the transporters, he knows that he's out of his league, he's out of his depth. And that makes him like a really interesting character because he has to use his wits, and he has to use Kate in interesting ways as a technomancer. So he has an ability, but it's not an overpowering ability, and he has to really kind of rely on his intelligence and wits and his ability to manipulate technology the way that only he can as a technomancer. But it doesn't mean that he's not going to get beat up. because he does get beat up and he gets hurt, and he's very human. He's very, very down to earth, and but he's also an operative, and so he's kind of like he has to walk. He has to walk this fine line between Division 13, which is what he belongs to, and being out in the field. So it's very much like, yeah, he's very much like the hardball detective. He gets beat up. He usually bites off more than he can chew. He has a different kind of snark than Simon. He has a different kind of attitude than Simon. He's a little bit more cynical. And now with Taro, he's going to be a little bit more, I don't want to say cynical. He's not cynical with Taro, but he's have to be a little bit more guarded. You have to be careful because Taro, yes, she's older than him. She's more powerful than him, but she's sheltered. She doesn't know the ways of the street as he does. And so he has to kind of look out for her and not guide her into anything that might get her hurt because her mom would, turn them to dust immediately. So that'll be fun. Ronan is going to have his hand. So Helen says, well, Chris says, he reminds me of the old hardball detectives always getting beat up. Yes, because that's very much like what Ronan is. Yeah, he's definitely within that kind of lineage, right? Heather says Ronan's going to have his hands full and still have questions as to who that station beneath Shoal was for. Yes, that hasn't gone away. It's that'll come out probably in the next story. There is a next story for Ronan and Taro. Let's see. Anthony says senior citizen and unfortunate destructive love triangle between the granny, the harbinger, and the Morgan. No, you don't want to mess around with the Morgan at all. No, that's not a love triangle. That's just a death wish, and not the kind you can drink. So, nope, no. Senior citizen is definitely a nice story with Dexter and Nana, but you don't want to mess around with the harbinger and the Morgan and the granny and no love triangle. That can't be a love triangle. The Morgan wouldn't tolerate something like that. She just as soon does someone before going to something like that. That would so not fly, Anthony. It would be a really short. And also, it would be a really short story. It'd be like a paragraph long. Once the Morgan gets in, she comes in, everybody dies. End the story. The end. Don't want to write a story that short. I know there's micro fiction. That's beyond micro fiction. So no, we cannot write that story. No. But yeah, so senior citizen will have to get rid another time. I mean, I still have the story to write, so we'll have to bump it just a little bit. Everything's been bumped. Deadeye upheaved. The production schedule is all over the place now because Deadeye came in and said, "I'm the production schedule." I'm like, oh, come on. It's like, really? And then I just said, it bumped so many things, so many projects. I'm like, all over. Then I came in. Deadeye was the bomb that landed on the production schedule. It just landed and exploded and just moved everything out of the way and just took over slots. It didn't take away one slot. It took over slots. It said, no, we're writing me now. And I don't care what else needs to be written. We're writing me in the story. And so that's what Deadeye did. Deadeye just blew up everything. Yeah, I'm waiting for the 10 too. I can't do anything if Deadeye's going to be doing what it's doing. See, the Morgan character got me to join Crow's group on FB. Which group is that, Jennifer? Sounds interesting. I'm guessing you're saying Morgan, not Morrison. Because if you say Morrison, I'm thinking the Doors. So that's also because I'm old. But I'm guessing you're saying Morgan, and I don't know which is the Crow group. It sounds interesting. And yes, we're still waiting for the 10. I'm still waiting for the 10. It's simmering. The story's there. I just have to write it. Yeah, it's okay. No problem. I can read typos. The story that is there for the 10. It's just that I have to. It's weird. Some stories I have to write it right away, and some stories have to wait for the right time to be written. It's just the way it works. My brain is a peculiar place sometimes. But yeah, the 10, that story's been simmering for the longest time. But also because of the characters that are involved. For the 10, it's really a kind of a throwback into what made them the 10, how did they come together, what have they faced, things like that. Yeah, call Sid in the long term. Yeah, That's another story. The designers. I have covers, outlines, everything for the designers, which is basically Sid's story, and Sid and Nina, which is the main character of that story. Ready. I mean, it's ready to go. And Sid is like, nah, I'm gonna wait a little while. Why don't you write Mountain Strong, and I'll get back to you. Like, you kidding me? So it's like, yeah. That's called the apocalypse, Anthony. A ladies' night with all the protagonists' significant others. Yeah, that would be called the apocalypse. You get all these females, all these ladies together. What is going to be left standing after they all get together? Are you kidding me? No, no, that is not a Patreon story. That's just like the end of all things story. But it would be fun. That's definitely a fun idea. You know how many? I have so many great ideas. Ideas are not the issue. The issue is making the time to put them into some kind of production schedule that doesn't blow up when you start a story like that out. Crow lovers. Oh, that's a big group. I'm guessing by crow lovers we mean the Morgan or just crows in general. I mean, is it like a mythological group or some Morgan story group? Sounds interesting. It should really also be crows and ravens because the Morgan is she kind of flips between both of them, crows and ravens. So, but it's a big group. 480,000 members is huge. That's a huge, huge group. What gets discussed in Crow Lovers, Jennifer Jones? What gets discussed in Crow Lovers? Just crows in general, like the fact that they're super intelligent and they make instruments to like tools. They can make tools and how they can communicate and they remember people. I mean, the crows are really, really fascinating birds, and how they mourn their dead. And I mean, there's so much that's about crows. It's so interesting, and they're really, really high intelligence, and they can. I had a crow when I was doing my daily walks that I would meet almost every day in the same spot on my walk. It would kind of wait for me. It would crow, it would caw a few times, and then it would leave. But every day it would do the same thing every day. I would walk by, it would caw, and then it would leave. Like, wow, it's my crow friend. It's incredible. And I know that they take shiny things and you can give they can trade things. That's yeah, they can give them gifts and things like that. So yeah, if you give them food, they can bring you stuff. So they're really, really amazing birds for sure. So there's a group dedicated to crow lovers. Fantastic. I think that's great. I know that they have so many fascinating traits. It's like, especially the facial recognition really surprised me. They can remember faces, and if I'm not mistaken, like some of them can even form words or they can speak. That they learn like they have very limited vocabulary, but they learn to form some words. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's one of the traits that they can actually learn to speak words. But that might be ravens. I do know. I don't know if it was crows or ravens. When I visited the Tower of London, there were crows that were kept that were not were kept, but they were all over. They were kind of all over the inside of the Tower of London, but they were protected. Like people couldn't like they kept them as part of the lore. I want to say of the Tower of London. That's how protected they were. Like they were part of the I guess I want to say the landmark of the building and part of the story. So yes. So yeah, amazing. This says we have a crow in the front eve of the house. They come back every year. Yeah, see, crows are pretty amazing. And the Morrigan, as a representative of crows, because crows and ravens both are associated with the Morrigan, only adds to that dimension of interest. I think that's great. They have that family. Like 10%. I think that's great. They have that family that comes back every year. That's pretty awesome. That is very cool. And yeah, so we've discussed so many things. I think today we discussed mostly the Morrigan. um, but the Morrigan as a goddess has taken on a very prominent, and will take even a more prominent role later on in the stories. But I found that she was really interesting with, there you go, yes, I'll just finish this thought. I found that she was really interesting to introduce into the M&S world for various reasons. But she has kind of taken over a lot of things. It's really, really, really interesting in the way that it's happened. Right, the Ravens go back to myth. If the Ravens leave the Tower of London, the kingdom falls. Right? Yeah, something like that. I think that's the legend. So they keep them there, and there are a lot of them, and they just kind of walk around. You won't bump into them because they get out of your way, but they're noticeable, and you can see them. They're all over the place. Yes, I think that if the crows ever leave the tower, either the royal family or England will fall. I think it's one of those two. But I found it amazing that they had all these crows just hanging out in the Tower of London. I mean, it's a tourist spot. I went to go see the Tower of London because it's ancient and it's a castle and it's amazing. And I got to go inside and get to walk around these really, really, really narrow stairways that are spiral stairways and it's really tight. And then when you get down to the courtyard itself, it's kind of spread out, and and then if you look to one side, there's all these crows just kind of walking around and hanging about, and it's like, wow. And then I found out that there was a legend that said that the crows had to remain part of the tower, or else I think that England will fall, the royal family. One of those two. But it's intricately joined to the lineage and the myth of England. This is amazing. Oh, okay. Time. Let's get to the questions. We got a bunch, and I want to get to the questions so we don't run out of time. Okay. That's awesome. Thank you, Heather, for the info. All right, questions. First, I want to preface this by saying thank you so much for the questions. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And every time you guys ask questions, it just makes the episode even more interesting. All right, so here we go. Audrey, question queen. Orlando, what to you are the most important elements of good writing? Oh my God, we could do a whole show on that, Audrey. Let's see. Character is really important. The story, plot is really important. Pacing is important. Let's see. There's really a lot more. I think you could boil it down to that. If you don't have a good character, you're not going to really enjoy the story. If you don't have a good story, you're not going to enjoy the story. It's not good. And if it drags, if the pacing is off, you're not going to enjoy it because you're going to get bored. You're going to get distracted. So I would say those three, but there's so much more. There really is a lot more. But those three for sure. What is Anthony saying? Wouldn't it be cool if you get a bond makes to Odin from the Morrigan, the way Peach is buying? That'd be really cool. I don't think we mess with mythos that much, but that would be awesome. Oh, you're welcome, Kathy. Thank you. I love Peaches too. He's a great, great, great character. Dolly can't answer. She's not here right now, so she can't answer this question. I'm not going to answer this question because it's too specific to her. I'm not going to pretend to answer this one for her. It's like, what artist, actor, musician do you dismiss but later in life came to appreciate? There's a few that she really likes and follows, but I'm not going to answer that one for her. So we're gonna put a note in that one, and she'll answer it next time. Next question. Orlando, what did you feel deprived of as a child that you find yourself purchasing now? I actually had a really, really good childhood. I don't think I was deprived of much. If anything, I would say toys because I was taught to use my imagination, which maybe in the time I felt slighted, but now it ended up paying off because that's what I used to write books. So the only thing I would get now when I became a gamer is I would get games to play on my consoles or computers. And that's the only thing that I couldn't have when I was really young. And I came out with the Atari 2600. So, but I couldn't get many games for it. So now I can get any game I want. I don't really play games much anymore. But that would be the only thing that I was deprived of as a child. Everything else, I had everything I needed. I had good friends, I had my imagination, and we had the great outdoors. And that was all you needed when I was a kid. 6 o'clock in the morning, get out of the house, go play. We got out of the house at 6:30, maybe the latest. And we were out playing. We would eat at other people's houses, some of our friends' houses. Whoever's mom made sandwiches that day. We would drink out of hoses. And we'd stay out until dark. We'd be using our imaginations. We'd make up games, create games on the fly, run around the neighborhood. We didn't have TVs. We didn't have devices. devices that we had, the imagination that we had was between our ears. So that's why I think that's a really good childhood. But each generation has its own thing, right? Okay. Next, thank you for the questions, Audrey. Yeah, those are really good questions. Next question, Chris Christmas asks, which is more fun to write, good guys or bad guys? Good question. I'm gonna have to go with a little bit of both. Good guys when they're attacked and come back, and bad guys when they do get attacked. And so I would have to say maybe anti-heroes, kind of a mix of both. But I would have to say it's kind of a mix between both. Because I like writing good guys, but I also like writing the bad guys. And in Deadeye, I really enjoy writing the bad guys, but I'm really enjoying writing the good guys too. So it's kind of a mix. I would say it's kind of balanced for both. My good guys get to be kind of borderline lawless, I guess. Like they don't always have to follow rules, and my bad guys get to be really, really bad. So it's kind of a mix of both. Okay, great question. Next question is from Anthony Hudson. Author Sensei, have you ever written something so funny that you had trouble getting back to the keyboard? No, I've never written anything that funny. I've written funny moments and witty moments, but anything that, to me at least, has not been that knocked down, drag out funny that I couldn't get back to the keyboard. And even when I'm writing something that's funny or an Easter egg or something, in the moment that I'm writing it, I don't. You wouldn't tell from me writing. I would just be writing, and later on, it's an Easter egg or it's a funny some funny comment. Yeah, like I've written some funny comments recently, but I didn't consider them hilarious. Like like dying laughter. But I find them humorous. Then again, I don't consider myself humorous. This is why I write Bangers and Mash to develop that humor muscle. Kathy asks, "Oh, that's great, Jennifer. Mixed magic is good. I hear that author is really good. That Chris Crispin guy." Kathy asks, "How did you decide to create the character Peaches as a dog? When we see more of the Mags and Peanut. You mean Rags and Peanut? Okay, I'm a little confused about who Mags is, but okay. I'm guessing Rags and Peanut and Cece. Because if you have Rags and Peanut, you have to have Cece too. How did I decide to create that character Peaches as a dog? Wow, that's another question. It's like we can go through a whole episode for that one. Peaches, I needed to create something for Simon because he had the snark, right? And so it was a foil for Simon because he had rough edges and something to soften him and to show that he could care for something and someone other than himself. So he wouldn't come across as completely selfish. So that he's thinking outside of himself. And the perfect foil for that would be a kind of a sidekick type character, but Peaches became so much more than just a sidekick. And I also needed the heart of the story, which was encapsulated in Peaches. Peaches became the heart of the series, and he still is. He has saved their bacons a few times, and he does it in a very singular Peaches way. But he is the one. He's kind of the glue that holds M&S together, and he also demonstrates Simon's love for him in a way that Simon would risk anything to protect Peaches, and Peaches would do the same for Simon. But it gets to show a different side of Simon without having to write. And Simon is a caring individual. I don't need to write Simon as a caring individual when you see that Simon would defend Peaches with his life. You get Simon is a caring individual. And how could you not care for Peaches? This is so awesome. So, and over time and over the books, Peaches has grown and Simon has grown, and I was able to show, and Monty, of course. And I was able to show how Simon has grown with Peaches by his side and how they have both grown, and almost in a way how Peaches is kind of waiting for Simon to reach a certain level of maturity so that he can relate to him on a different level. So it's been a lot of fun. So that's kind of how I do it. And so Peaches is the heart of the story. But he also, like Chris is saying, he lets Simon show his softer side, his humanity, his caring. Lets him show his heart. He lets Simon be human, and so he doesn't lose that part of him that makes him a good person. Peaches is what does that. That's why when you see that Peaches is in danger, Simon loses it. Like in Archmage, what Julian did to Peaches sent Simon off the deep end because he thought that Peaches was done, and you can't do that to Simon. He'll lose his mind. If you've ever had a dog or a cat or any pet, you can't not relate to Simon and Peaches because it's that bond where no words are needed. It's just Peaches is next to Simon. Peaches will protect Simon. Peaches will defend Simon. It's like it's an unconditional thing, and it goes both ways. Hope that answered your question. Yeah. Yes, he is really. It's he's growing into it, Jennifer. It's really a growing process, but he's growing into it. He's beginning to understand more of it, and the last book, Mages and Monsters, was really kind of an eye opener for him. He's starting to realize what it means to be the Aspis. He's kind of stepping into that even more. But Kali has had to kind of like smack him a bit to get him to the that. Okay. Next question from Anthony. In terms of power scaling, where would the current characters of your universe fare if faced with either of the big dogs of the DCU or the MCU, Monty versus Doctor Strange or Simon head to head with Batman? I don't know. That's a good question. As versed as I am in comics, and I'm pretty well versed, it's still a hard question because there's so many variables to consider. And Simon head to head with Batman. If Batman had enough time to prepare, Batman can beat anyone if he has enough time to prepare because Batman's superpower, right? So he just needs prep time. That would take too long. I can't even answer that right now because I'd have to think about which characters, and there are so many. And I could Monty go against Dr. Fate as well as Doctor Strange. And what about Galactus? Could they face off against a being like that or the Silver Surfer? There's just too many in terms of power scaling. I don't know where I would place them because they have so many different variables. It's hard. Oh, let's see. Next question. But thanks for the questions, Anthony. I'm sorry I can't answer that one. That was like, wow. That was like a whole world, two worlds, because it's DCU and Marvel. There's so many characters to consider. Susie says, this is another amazing. Oh, she's talking about the pic of on the post for the Kaffeeklatsch. The warden and his assistant love it. Is this the kind of stuff that's in my head? Yes. Gene Malika and the Range Doctor Design, I don't know how they do it, but they get into my head to create the characters, the covers that they do. It's insane how well they do. Like I look at the covers that they give me, like proposals, each time. Like especially Monty Strong. You look at the Monty Strong covers; they're incredible. And the Night Warden covers, I've always said it, they're like movie level quality posters. You blow them up, and they would never lose they wouldn't get pixelated because it's such high quality. It's amazing. All right, let's see. Hope you like cats in no dogs in my series. Oh yeah, because Chris has crazy, I believe, right? You have your cats in Mixed Magic. Heather says, was listening to 2 Years and Butterflies again yesterday. Have forgotten that. Yeah, Peaches is definitely the beginning. Somebody asked me a while back, why isn't Peaches on any other cover? And it's interesting because it's not on any of the Monty Strong covers, but he's such an important character in the Monty Strong series. I don't know why he's never in the. I don't think he needs to be in the covers. I think, like what he is, he's the glue of the series. He doesn't need to be in the covers. So there you go. It wasn't an oversight. It's just something that never came up putting him on the cover. And I've always known what Peaches looked like because he from the beginning I already knew what he looked like, but I never had him put on the cover. So thank you everyone for the questions. It's pretty awesome. You guys, your questions are always great. Thank you so much. Chris answers Susie by saying, yes, being in the art is special and very cool. However, keeping things secret until book releases, tough. It can be a wonderful delight. It really can be. Yes, Chris. I saw that recently. I was like, no, no, what happened? Yes, they made the Silver Surfer female. I just found that out a few days ago myself. I get it, but changing an iconic character, I hope there's a good reason for it. I don't know I don't know what's behind that change, so I can't comment except to say that the Silver Surfer is now female. Yeah. Thank you, Kathy. Yes, I've tried to do Peaches justice. The only time I was nearly hurt was when I threatened to kill Peaches, and the readers back then it was only Blood is Thicker, so there's only 3 books. It's Two Million Butterflies, and Blood is Thicker. And the readers were they were gonna appear at my door if I killed Peaches. So that was the only time I almost made a mistake by killing Peaches. And I realized that no, that can't be. No, can't do that. I've threatened to do it a few times, and he's been hurt. He's been banged around, and Thomas tried to poison him. So he has been hurt. He's not completely invincible, and his greatest weakness is probably his stomach. But he's definitely more dangerous now than he was in the first books. He's getting much stronger now. So it's harder to the same enemies that would have attacked him in the past and hurt him would not do it now, would not be able to do it. Let's see. Jennifer says, I reread the entire M&S series to get ready. Wow, that's a lot of books. That's like 27 books you read. Eesh, that's a lot of books. A lot of books to read to get ready for the series. And it's coming soon. So you don't have to wait too much longer. It'll be out very soon. Like soon, TM soon. Like really soon. As anxious as I am to write it, I'm even more anxious to release it so you guys get to read it. As anxious as I am to write it, I'm just as anxious for you to read it. Because I've had this is one of those books where I've enjoyed it probably more than you're ever going to enjoy it. I've enjoyed writing and reading it more than I think you're going to end up enjoying it, because it's just been such a fun book to write, such a fun book to dive into, such a fun book to research. You get to see a little bit. Oh, no, I can't. I'm sorry. I so badly want to share it with you. I really do, but we'll wait. It's only about a week or so, and then so it'll come out. It'll be there, and then you can look at it and you'll be like, oh, that's what Orlando's trying to say. Okay. But yeah. So like I said before, thank you so much for all the questions. Are there any questions you guys want to ask now? We have about 5 minutes. I got to the questions early today. We have about 5 minutes. Ask anything you want, and if I can answer it, I will. And it's awesome that you have. I wish I had this opportunity with authors that I grew up with to be able to ask them questions. Yeah, you'll get some of that in this story. Answer Chris's question about looking forward to Simon's backstory. You'll get some of that here. I don't think all of it's coming out, but a lot of it is. For some, killing Peaches would cause a Stephen King misery scenario. Yeah, well, listen, I learned my lesson right away. The readers were like, "What? You're doing what now? To who? To Peaches?" No, I don't think so. I was like, "Whoa." Kathy, yes, there will be more Night Warden this year for sure. Divine Hell. I'm not even looking at the production schedule because Deadeye destroyed it, obliterated it, but it will be this year, definitely. So you will see another Night Warden book will come out this year for sure. To steal a thought from the Wonder Boys, I'm a junkie for the written word, and for sure, yeah. I'm your Huckleberry, Jennifer Jones. I haven't used that in a while. That's gotta come back in. I think I'm gonna put that in Deadeye because I haven't used it in a while. So the way it's gonna come back though, it's gonna be interesting. It's not gonna come back in the usual expected way. So it's gonna be like, well, but then there's so much in Deadeye that kind of threw me for a loop. Like, and if I'm going on about Deadeye, I apologize. And I don't mean to tease you, but it's such a fun book. It really is. I'm trying not to hype it up, so you guys don't go, oh wow, all that hype, and it was meh, because it doesn't matter to me right now because the book is just so much fun. But even if everyone panned it, like, yeah. No, not yet. He still has, let's see, 1, 2, 3. He has 3 more classes, and then his I think it's 4 more classes, and then his road test. I'm not getting in the car until he has his license. Kidding me? No. I'm gonna wait. So once he gets his license, I'll jump in. I'll put him behind the wheel. Ooh, more Peanut. I love Peanut. Such a great character. Um, I wish I could have sat down with Tolkien and all the sci-fi Asimov timeline. Um, Herbert. I wish I could have sat with all of them, Anthony, and just pick their brains and ask them how and why. And, like so many questions for all of them, like epic fantasy, C.S. Lewis, and just so many. There's so many. I wish I could have sat down. The way we're talking right now, I wish I could have sat down with them and just had conversation. Because even back then, when I was growing up, you could write authors letters, but that wasn't guaranteed to get a letter back. Let's see, more Peanut soon. Yes, Kathy, more Peanut soon. It's just that Peanut is such an interesting singular character, and she's becoming so powerful that I have to be careful how she's exposed to the readers in a way, so that she don't overuse her, don't overdo it. But she and Cece and Kai and Rags are going to be their own. They're going to become part of the Brew and Chew, and they're going to go on their own adventures as a group, and those are going to be so much fun. Yes. Yeah, and I wish I could like even further back, like Chandler or Bradbury. Yes. Is CC's test going to be a patron or no? No, CC's test, everyone's together. It's not Patreon. CC's test is going to be part of the M&S canon, so it's going to be out there. Yeah. Any more Montague and Strong in the works? And did you just get here? Because we've been talking about Montague and Strong for almost the whole episode. Yes, there's more Montague and Strong in the works, and Deadeye, which is the 28th book, will be done in about a week or so, and then it goes to the art, goes to the edits, and then it gets out. So August it'll be out. So yes, and to answer your question, yes, more Montague and Strong for sure. Jennifer says, Chris, have you read Don Jones fiction books? Oh, I haven't read Don Jones fiction books. Oh, you just got here. Welcome, Anne. We're almost done, but you made it the last minute, and you got a question in. So yes, awesome. And again, answering your question, yes, definitely more Montague. There's always Montague and Strong. If you notice the trend, which is why Montague and Strong has 28 books, I haven't stopped writing Montague and Strong since I started Montague and Strong. You're not late. You're here on time. You got whatever time you get here, that's the time you need to be here. So you're here on time. But to answer your question, I haven't stopped writing Montague and Strong since the first book. I've always been writing a Montague and Strong story. Despite the fact that I might be writing another story, but I've always been writing. There's always been a Montague and Strong story somewhere in the pipeline being written, always, because it's the story that kind of Montague and Strong is kind of the one. I always call it the engine. It's the trunk of the tree, and all the other stories are branches, but the trunk and the roots are Montague and Strong for sure. Yes, exactly. Like Anne E says, better late than never. Hi, better late than never. Here. Now we're gonna wrap up, but you're here, and I get to see you and say hi, and that's awesome. I truly appreciate you making it and getting here, even if it's for 5 minutes. You're here, and that's worth it. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up. And this time just goes by. I don't know. Sid keeps compressing these times. Yeah, you can still get, if not on Patreon, you can still get the books on Kindle for sure. Yeah, you can always the Montague and Strong books are always on KU for sure. That's something that I've made it part of M&S. Is always on KU. I don't know how Sid compresses the time because it feels like we just started 5 minutes ago and it's an hour and 10 minutes later. So, as Jennifer Jones says, meat is life. Have an amazing weekend. My 3 B's: be kind, be unstoppable, and be uncommon. If you're on YouTube, please don't forget to give the episode a like and subscribe. That way you'll know when we drop these fantastic episodes of you guys. And when the CWWs come out, also you'll know when it comes out. Fantastic. And listen, if you're in one of those hot places, please don't forget to stay hydrated, stay in the shade. If you can stay indoors and have AC, then do that and stay cool. And if you're not, if you have to go out into this heat, then take your time. Drink a lot of water, a lot of liquids. Please take care of yourself. And I will see you in the mob. And I'll leave you a whole bunch of posts so you guys can check it out. Yes, M&S are the foundation. Have a great weekend. Let me see what we're going to put to close out. Let's see. I'm going to take my scary face from here.